some small incident. the cup fall down. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to the Chinese Embassy. On July 3rd, I held a press conference at the Embassy to answer your questions about the amendments to Hong Kong's extradition laws and explain China's position. For more than a month since then, the opposition in Hong Kong and some radical forces have continued to use their opposition to the amendment as an excuse for various types of radical street protest. Violence involved has escalated and the damage to the society has expanded. The movement has gone way beyond the free assembly and peaceful protest. It is posing a severe challenge to law and order in Hong Kong, threatening the safety of life and property of Hong Kong people, undermining the prosperity and stability in Hong Kong, and challenging the principled bottom line of one country, two systems. As a result, Hong Kong now faces the gravest situation since its handover. A handful of extreme radicals have been undermining rule of law, social order, and one country, two systems in Hong Kong. But they have taken cover under the so-called pro-democracy movement to hide their real intention and to whitewash their disruptive actions. This new extremism is both highly deceptive and destructive. The newer extremists stormed the Legislative Council complex, attacked liaison office of the Central People's Government in Hong Kong, assaulted the police officers, and brought Hong Kong airport to standstill by legal assembly. Their moves are severe and violent offenses and already showed signs of terrorism. The central government of China would never allow a few violent offenders to drag Hong Kong down a dangerous road, a dangerous abyss. We've never allowed anyone to harm the rule of law and sound development in Hong Kong. We've never allowed anyone to undermine one country, two systems at any excuse. Should the situation in Hong Kong deteriorate further into unrest, uncontrollable for the government of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region, the central government would not sit on its hands and watch. We have enough solutions and enough power within the limit of basic law to quell any unrest swiftly. This is a critical moment for Hong Kong. How will this end? This question is in the minds of all of those who care about the future of Hong Kong. It is also hitting the headlines and making cover stories in British media. Our answer to this question is firm and clear. We hope this will end in an orderly way. In the meantime, we are fully prepared for the worst. So how will this end in an orderly way? I think the following 4 points are extremely important. First, the priority now is to support the SAR government in ending violence and restoring order. I hope that Hong Kong people, especially the young people, who have been led astray, would have a clear understanding of the current situation in Hong Kong and cherish the sound development of Hong Kong after handover, which has not come by easily. I hope they will keep big picture in mind, rally behind the chief executive and ICR government, uphold rule of law and justice in Hong Kong, and safeguard national reunification as well as Hong Kong's prosperity and stability. Hong Kong people from all walks of life must refuse to be used or coerced by radical forces. They should say no to all violence and lawlessness. They should support SAR government in governing Hong Kong in accordance with the law, and support the Hong Kong police in strict and rigorous enforcement. Second, the violent offenders must be brought to justice in accordance with the law. It is basic requirement of rule of law that all laws must be observed and all offenders must be held accountable. The violent or lawless perpetrators must be brought to justice, no matter who they are and however hard they try to whitewash their actions. If anyone in this country questions this point, let me ask them this: would the UK allow extremists to storm the Palace of Westminster and damage its facilities and get away with it? Would the UK give permission for attacking police officers with lethal weapons or set fire to police station without any punishment? Would the UK allow so-called pro-democracy rioters to occupy the airport, obstruct traffic, disturb social order, or threaten the safety and people's life and property? Aren't all this regarded as crimes in the UK? Indulging lawlessness is tantamount to blaming and the rule of law. No responsible government would sit back and watch such violence rages on. The central government of China firmly supports SAR government and Hong Kong police in strict, rigorous and decisive enforcement so as to bring the offenders to justice as soon as possible and uphold the rule of law and social order in Hong Kong. Third, foreign forces must stop interfering in Hong Kong's affairs. Evidence shows that the situation in Hong Kong would have not deteriorated so much had it not been for the interference and incitement of foreign forces. Some Western politicians and organizations have publicly or covertly given various types of support to violent radicals and tried to interfere in the judicial independence of Hong Kong and obstruct Hong Kong's police from bringing the violent offenders to justice. I want to reiterate here that Hong Kong is part of China. No foreign country should interfere in Hong Kong's internal affairs. We urge those foreign forces to respect China's sovereignty and security, immediately stop interfering in Hong Kong's affairs, stop interfering in China's internal affairs, stop conniving in violent offenses. They should not misjudge the situation and go down the wrong path. Otherwise, they will lift the stone only to drop it on their own feet. Fourth, the media must show their due social responsibilities. Since what happened in Hong Kong, I have to say the Western media have failed to play a credible role. Instead of reporting the situation in a just and objective manner, it have confused the right and wrong, given unbalanced account and misled the public. There have been massive coverage on so-called right to peaceful protest but the few reports on the violent offenses by the extreme radicals, such as disruption of social order, attacks on police officers, and injuries to the bystanders. There have been not a word about extensive public support for the SAR government and for restoring law and order in Hong Kong. The lawless and violent offenders who undermine the rule of law are whitewashed and named pro-democracy activists in media reports. But the legitimate law enforcement measures by SAR government and the police to uphold law and order and to protect life and property of the people are labeled repression. Such selective reporting and distortion have resulted in prevalence of wrong information and have misled the public, especially the young people in Hong Kong. It is fair to say that Western media have inescapable responsibility for current situation in Hong Kong. I sincerely hope that Western media would reflect on the social impact of their reporting, shoulder due social responsibilities, and report the situation in Hong Kong in a just and objective manner. I hope they will stop speaking up for the extreme violent offenders, refrain from pouring oil over the flame in Hong Kong, and foster a sound environment of public opinion so that law and order could be restored in Hong Kong. To help you understand my fourth point I have just made, I would like to show you a short video clip so that you could see some scenes and hear some voices that are absent in the Western media.
vandalism, the disgusting things you see here. Can I describe? I lived in Hong Kong more than half my life. I love Hong Kong, I love China. Hong Kong is built on the law, the rule of law, and not chaos. And no one has the right to do this kind of thing. And this is the tragedy. Young people don't understand this. They don't realize how good life really is in Hong Kong. We are a free place. And most part of China is also free. This is the tragedy. The West doesn't understand it.
No other civilized country would allow its parliament to be invaded in that way, and obviously there must be consequences for those who are involved in doing it, because it is a direct attack not only on the rule of law, but also on our very way of life.
Order fosters prosperity, while unrest brews regress. Given what is happening in Hong Kong today, this ancient Chinese teaching could be more relevant. It is in the interest of both China and the international community, including the UK, to have a prosperous and stable Hong Kong, where over 300,000 British citizens live and work, where 300 British companies are doing business. I sincerely hope that the people from all walks of life in the UK still have a clear understanding, will have a clear understanding of a big picture. Act in the interest of Hong Kong's prosperity and stability, and refrain from saying or doing anything that interferes in Hong Kong's affairs or undermine the rule of law in Hong Kong. I'm confident that with the support of the central government of China and under the leadership of ICR government and Chief Executive Carrie Lam, Hong Kong will bring violence to an end and restore law and order at an earlier date. Hong Kong, the Oriental Pearl, will once again shine brightly. Thank you. Now I'd like to answer your questions. Please, could you also identify yourself?
Thank you. Mark Shannon from Bloomberg. I noticed there was one moment in the clip where one of the speakers pointed out that Hong Kong police have not used live ammunition. There have been armed personnel carriers and troops shown on social media and TV just outside Hong Kong. If they were to be deployed, as some of what you said suggests is possible, would they be armed with live ammunition, and would they be entitled to use it?
I would answer your question this way. I think the Hong Kong situation is at a very critical moment, but we have a full trust and confidence in Chief Executive and her administration to handle the situation and to bring this to an end in an orderly way. But as I said in my opening remarks, if the situation deteriorates further into an unrest uncontrollable by the ICR government, the central government will not sit by and watch. And we have enough solutions and enough power to put an end, to quell the unrest swiftly. Yeah, the back over there.
Yes, good morning. Carl Boston with CNN. Sir, we have 4 talking points about possible solutions. You talk about also the problem of foreigners should not interfere because this is a problem for China to resolve by itself. And here we have a message from President Trump saying that he's willing to perhaps discuss with President Xi Jinping this situation. Has there been any formal response yet to this suggestion? And if it is being considered, would it help resolve the situation?
I don't think President Trump proposed officially, formally, to have a meeting with the President Xi now. I saw his Twitter, and he expressed his views on Hong Kong. Hong Kong is a constant subject between China and Western government, including UK and United States. We are open to discussion, but the important thing to remember is that we do not agree. We cannot accept any interference in Hong Kong internal affairs. We believe this is purely China's internal affairs. We strongly oppose to any foreign intervention, including some congressmen proposed to have a so-called resolution act on Hong Kong. Especially, we're opposed to the foreign organization to give us support financially and also both openly, publicly, and covertly show their support. We strongly oppose to it. Thank you. Yes, please.
Thank you. I'm Estelle Chauvin from Reuters. I wanted to ask you, you said in your opening remarks that the behaviour of some of the protesters was showing signs of terrorism, and I wondered whether you might explain to us what would be the red line or the turning point, the moment where it would constitute terrorism, and would that then provide under Chinese law a legal justification for the deployment of Chinese forces in Hong Kong? Thank you.
I think from both this video clip and also what is happening in Hong Kong now, especially what happened at the airport, it draw already worldwide condemnation of the atrocities and acts. Many media regard it as a terrorist act, and in no difference from any terrorist attacking police, attacking travelers, and even attacking journalists. One of your colleagues, from China, we heard the strong condemnation from the Chinese Association of Journalists for this kind of act. So it's we call it a symbolism, a symptom of a terrorist and a near terrorist. I would call it's a newer extremist. If it go further, it might become a newer terrorist or terrorist action. If it become a terrorist action, I still hope that the Hong Kong authority, Hong Kong government, and the Hong Kong police can handle this situation. So what I'm saying, if the situation deteriorated into unrest uncontrollable to the Hong Kong government, then the central government would not sit by and watch. Yeah, one hand there, then here and there.
From RT. It has been admitted on US media that the taxpayer-funded National Endowment for Democracy has been funding some of the Hong Kong protests. So does Beijing completely view the Hong Kong protests as a US plot to destabilize China, or are there legitimate aspirations of Hong Kongers that maybe Beijing recognizes?
What is your second point? Would you repeat?
I asked, so are there any legitimate aspirations that Beijing recognizes from Hong Kongers?
I'm not quite with you on your second point.
So I asked that the National Endowment for Democracy in the US has funded.
Yeah, I understand that.
So does China view this as entirely a US plot? Of course, with the Hong Kong protests, or are there some legitimate aspirations that Beijing sees?
I think you already partly answered my question, that we believe there's a dark hand behind this radical movement. You mentioned, as I mentioned that in my opening statement, that some foreign forces, including foreign organizations, giving financial support and moral support to the radical movement, especially the foreign officials meeting the leaders of Hong Kong independence. So it clearly shows their move, their intention, ulterior motives is to make Hong Kong a problem for China, to use Hong Kong to contain China, to prevent China from developing smoothly, preventing China from being a prosperous country. That's for sure. So that's why I'm saying, in order to have the situation, the chaos situation in Hong Kong and in an orderly way, it's very important that foreign forces should stop interfering further into Hong Kong's affairs, including the activities you have mentioned. One, please.
Thank you. Catherine Foot from the Times. I wondered, Ambassador, if you could respond to the suggestion of the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee that full British citizenship be extended to all Hong Kong citizens. Would China regard that as provocation?
I think some politicians in this country still, though their body is still, lived in the 21st century, but their head are still in the colonial days. I think some of them still regard Hong Kong as part of British Empire, and they treat Hong Kong as a part of UK. That's the problem. I think they really have to change their mindset, put them in the proper position, and regard Hong Kong as a part of China, not as a part of UK. Thank you. Yeah, please.
Lucy Watson, ITV News. You said earlier that Beijing is fully prepared for the worst. Can you clarify exactly what that means? And also, we've all seen the satellite images of troops and tanks assembled in Shenzhen. Is this a means of intimidation, or is Chinese military action a very real possibility, or even imminent?
I think in my opening statement, I already answered this question. First, the first part is what kind of situation that the resolute solution should be needed. I said if the situation deteriorate further into unrest, uncontrollable by the Hong Kong government, then the central government will not sit by and watch. And we have enough solutions, enough power to quell the unrest swiftly. So if you read my words carefully, word for word, you will get your answer to your question.
What exactly does quell mean, though? How will you quell the protests?
To put this to an end. Thank you. Yeah, please.
Deborah Ames from Sky News. Could you give a sense of you talked about how Beijing has the power to deal with this problem. Can you give a sense of the scale of the forces that you have available to deploy into Hong Kong if necessary? And also, are they properly trained to deal with what is a civilian uprising, civilian unrest, as opposed to a military problem? And then secondly, if I may, this is your second press conference, as you said. Last time we had a different Prime Minister. Now we've got Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Last time you said that relations between Beijing and London had been damaged by, for example, our then Foreign Secretary's comments on Hong Kong. What are relations like now? Are relations better have they been healed between UK and China, or are they still being damaged? And what's your message to the Prime Minister?
To answer your first question, I think I already answered your questions. First, this is a hypothetical question. Currently, we still believe that Hong Kong government are capable of doing their business. Chief executive is a very capable leader in Hong Kong and enjoying broad respect and support. So at this moment, I think they are still handling it very well. We have full trust in them. So it's, we haven't get to the point to discuss about what kind of scale of power and solutions we are going to use. But I already answered this question. We are confident we have enough solutions, enough power to put this to an end swiftly. With regard to your second question, we certainly would like to see relations will be further developed because we believe it is in the interest of China and UK to have a sound relationship. But as I said in my last press conference, of course I didn't expect you have so soon have a new prime minister. So I have to be careful with my press conference. I don't hope that the next press conference will talk about another prime minister. Do not take this seriously. But this is the fourth prime minister I'm going to work with, so you can see how long I've been here. We have expectations. We do hope that relationship will move along the direction of a golden era set by President Xi during his state visit. But good relationship has to be based on the basic principles. The fundamental principles is a mutual respect for sovereignty and territorial integrity and non-interference into internal affairs of each other. It was enshrined in the joint declaration of establishing diplomatic relations between our two countries. So we hope this principle, as long as these principles followed, relationship will move forward. But as long as these principles are violated, relationship will suffer a setback. So we do hope that new administration will handle a Hong Kong issue, which is about China's sovereignty, is about China's internal territorial integrity, about China's internal affairs. I hope the new administration will handle this issue with a great caution. Thank you. Yeah, please, there, back there.
Hello, Peter Beaumont, The Guardian. What is your definition of uncontrollable, and what would you be looking for to define the situation as becoming uncontrollable?
Do you think we have to consult Cambridge Dictionary about what is controllable is about? Uncontrollable is out of control. So we do hope that situation will still be under control of the special administration and the chief executive. So I believe the current situation is still under control. Please.
Evan Davis, BBC Radio PM programme. Ambassador, you painted the protesters as violent and as extremists. Can I ask whether you would acknowledge that for every violent or extremist protester, there are many, many ordinary citizens in Hong Kong, lawyers, civil servants, who are deeply disquieted by what is happening on the Chinese government side, and who support the idea of the people having more say in their own administration, and who support the fifth protest, the fifth demand of the protesters for universal suffrage. So first, do you acknowledge that there are many people who are not violent extremists supporting the protesters? And can you remind us and the people of Hong Kong why China finds it so objectionable to give them universal suffrage? If I may ask a second question, does China still regard the joint declaration signed with the British in 1984 as applying and constraining its behaviour in Hong Kong?
Nice meeting with you. I haven't seen you for quite a while, and since I was on your program. First of all, to your first question is about the demonstrators. We certainly acknowledge the difference between the young people, the demonstrators, and the radical violent offenders. So that's why in my presentation, in my opening statement, I said it. A few, they do not represent the whole, and the majority of them have been misled. And I think the Hong Kong media has responsibility, the Western media has a responsibility. There are some complaints. In any society, you have all kinds of complaints. Since Hong Kong handover, enormous achievement, progress has been made, and one country, two systems. But there are still a lot of rooms to improve. The young people, how young people will have to advance their career. Hong Kong economy, there are many problems in the development of Hong Kong economy. Hong Kong economy have too much dependent on financial services, too much on real estate, and offer little opportunities for the young people. So they have complaints. We understand that. But the central government and the SAR government try very hard to address these problems. We have launched this Great Bay development project. I don't know how familiar you are. I don't think we have a time to elaborate in detail. But that will give Hong Kong young people more opportunities. If you compare Hong Kong now with Shenzhen across the river, it's quite contrast. In 30 years' time, Shenzhen has been transformed. It's a city, dynamic, full of talent, full of vigor, full of many young people, a lot of high-tech, new technologies, companies. You have a Huawei. I don't know if you have time to talk about Huawei. You have a Tencent. You have a Dajiang. You have many, top world-class companies. What these world-class companies, high-tech companies, you can find in Hong Kong. So, but the important thing you have to remember, to address this problem, only we have to focus on development. Demonstrations offer no solution. Chaotic situation only will make young people suffer more. So we certainly will address the concern of the young people. We certainly understand the difference between the young people who have been misled, who have been led astray, as I said, from those radical, violent offenders. Your second question is about joint declaration. I think people always confuse about one country, two systems with a joint declaration. Joint declaration have completed its mission. Its main mission is to ensure a smooth handover of Hong Kong from UK to China. Right after handover, the joint declaration, and also its mission is to ensure a smooth transition period between 84, that was the time when China, UK agreed on the handover. Between 84 to 97, this is 13 years. We have to make sure there should be a smooth transition without interference of interruption. And that is its main mission. Yes, joint declaration mentioned about one country, two systems, but that is a national policy, unilaterally announced by Chinese government. It's incorporated in the basic law of China. So when we said China is committed to one country, two systems, we are not saying we're committed to joint declaration. We're committed to implement the basic law of China. We stimulate that Hong Kong will enjoy one country, two systems for 50 years. Thank you.
You didn't stress universal suffrage.
Yes, universal suffrage. The central government committed to universal suffrage. We believe this is a final game. This is a final aim of political reform in Hong Kong, but it has to be processed in an orderly way, and has to be suits to the condition of Hong Kong. All countries, all places, cities differ from one another. If it were not for the opposition of Hong Kong, in 2015, the Legislative Council would pass a law on universal suffrage. But they are not happy with this law, so they block it. So, they killed this law. So they postpone this process. So so many things are not known by Western public. So the government is fully committed to universal suffrage, but it has to be carried out in orderly and gradual way. Thank you. Yeah, please.
James Robbins, diplomatic correspondent of the BBC. You talked about there being no place for any foreign interference in China's internal affairs. Does that mean that the British government, this present British government, is interfering in internal affairs when it calls for dialogue to end the crisis in Hong Kong? And is one of the solutions which you would examine carefully to find a way through this, to move beyond mere suspension, just the suspension of the extradition law? Would you be prepared to move to full withdrawal, which reminds me of one of the basic points that you raised by the protesters? And my second question...
This is, they had a second question, so there will be a third one.
My second question is about the potential use of force, because you said China would use whatever means necessary to quell the protests. If you were...
Not the protest, to quell the unrest.
The unrest. If you were to use the Chinese army in Hong Kong, do you accept that that would have the effect of destroying the second system, two systems, destroying Hong Kong's autonomy, and do grave damage, therefore, to China, because it would suffer economically and with trade as a result?
I think you asked 3 questions. I try to remember them all. Maybe from the last first. As I said, we have enough solutions, enough power to put this to end swiftly. By doing this, we're exactly defending one country, two systems. Some of the radical forces are call for independence of Hong Kong. They want to use Hong Kong to infiltrate into the mainland, to interrupt the socialist system in Hong Kong, in mainland. So in both ways, they undermine one country, two systems. When we talk about one country, two systems, people have to be aware that it's a complete part. One country, that means Hong Kong is part of China. And China has a sovereignty over Hong Kong. And one country is a precondition for two systems. Without one country, there's no talk about two systems. There will be no more two systems. So the two are complete one part. So we can't emphasize one at the expense of the other. So I think what China is going to do to put the situation under control is exactly for one country, two systems. About the telephone conversation, as I said, we are open to discussions on Hong Kong. But the important thing is you can't use telephone conversation to exert pressure on SAR government. For instance, you would say, we are concerned about police repression, excessive use of force. We are concerned about, we condemn the violence on both sides. That's not fair. You can't give a 50-50. When you condemn, so that's why I'm saying you confuse right and wrong. If you accuse the right things, you will certainly support the wrong things. So the important thing is the nature of your conversation. Whether it's an intervention or not intervention. British politicians visiting Hong Kong all the time. We show no objection to that. But if you make a comment to interfere in the judicial independence of Hong Kong, you try to abstract, just like some politicians before, saying you can't, punish those radicals, violent offenders. It is abstract. the legal system in Hong Kong. That cannot be accepted at all. I think I answered all your questions.
Is the present British government guilty of interfering in China's internal affairs? And also my question, why not simply withdraw completely?
Oh, yes, we express our concern about some of the comments by the British politicians. Some of your colleagues asked a question earlier. I really hope that they should change their mindset and to have a big picture in mind about prosperity, stability of Hong Kong, and the broad interest of UK. I think prosperous, stable Hong Kong is really in the interest of UK, not only in the interest of Hong Kong, in China. Withdrawal, the bill has been suspended by the government. Whether it will be withdrawn, I think it's up to the Hong Kong government to decide. I think the chief executive promised to have a further communication, discussions with the public, with the various sectors in Hong Kong. From the very beginning, in my first press conference, I said this is a good bill. It serves the interest of Hong Kong. It will make Hong Kong a safe haven of justice rather than a safe haven of fugitive criminals. I think their intention to improve the legal system in Hong Kong. But it was not well understood. So I think it might take time for the SAR government to explain their position, to convince the Hong Kong public that it is in Hong Kong. I have no intention to hide you, to hide something from you. We do not have enough good equipment like BBC, to make a clip straight away, and so it's a little bit old, outdated, a little bit old video clip, and the other one is the journalist from China, who have been tied up, and some people regard him as a plain police, but it turned out he is a journalist who has his name, who is a registered journalist. On holiday, not on a secret mission. Not on duty. I have no information. If they are, you can. So what you're talking about, that police people cannot have a holiday, right? Yeah, I have no information on that. Even if they are policemen, as you said, they are not on duty. There are millions of people traveling in China. Right, yes. I have no. I can't make a comment on that because I do not know this story. I do not know anything about this policeman who have been rounded up by the writers, whether it's on duty or not on duty. So I can't make a comment on that.
Are there other mainland law enforcement officials operating not wearing uniforms?
I don't think so. I think we have full trust in the Hong Kong authorities to handle the situation. So the second round? Yeah. You have your first round, please. Then we come to you and Evan.
Mr. Ambassador, as Skelly
police have experienced these days, in other parts of the country, it equals to aggregated assault, which will be dealt with seriously. But why there's still the target of blame in some of the medias? I think in most of the Western medias, even if they're so restrained. And my second question, if I may, yesterday I know that the British companies are warned to evaluate the risks of the investment in Hong Kong, and more than 28 countries have been noticed to issue the different levels of warnings to their travelers to Hong Kong. And analysts say that currently this is kind of turning point of Hong Kong's economy. So what's your viewpoint?
I think you are absolutely right when talking about the behavior of Hong Kong police. I think they exercise their duty with a great constraint, more so than any other countries. They are very professional, and I think they won the praise from many countries, including United States, Canada, France. I haven't picked up any comment by the British police yet. You know, the things like this, if happen in the Western countries, the police will deal with much more force, but they exercise with great constraints. That reminds me, just a few months ago, it started in June, one Extinction Rebellion applied to put a demonstration in Heathrow Airport. They've been told by British police authority, they warned that those involved would face a life sentence and urge these campaigners to reconsider. And we've been all watched how the British police handle the riot in London. And I don't need to remind you how forcefully, what kind of force they used. On the Hong Kong economy, yes, it suffered. I think what is happening in Hong Kong really damaged the image, international image and reputation of Hong Kong. It's very sad. You know, Hong Kong is a very safe place, rule of law. The rating is very high in terms of justice. It's even 3 steps higher than United States last year by Project Justice. It ranked 16th, I think. United States ranked 19th. I'm talking about law and order, not safety. Safety, Hong Kong will be much safer than the other Western countries. Of course, we all read that Hang Seng and stock fall 9%, and Hong Kong dollar fall. Many things fall. It's very sad. I think people, as I said in my opening remarks, people should treasure the hard-won development of Hong Kong. I do hope common sense will prevail in Hong Kong. I just heard many statements yesterday by the business leaders. They've been kept quiet for some time, but they now spoke out. They realize what kind of damage this chaos in Hong Kong will do to the city, to the prosperity, stability of Hong Kong. Yes, please.
Thank you for accepting the second question. Earlier when my colleague from the BBC asked about the extradition bill, you said that it was up to the Hong Kong government to decide whether it would be withdrawn or not, but then you immediately added that you thought it was a good bill and it had been fully explained, it should explain further. Just to be completely clear, if Carrie Lam and the Hong Kong government decided to withdraw the bill fully, would the central government of China allow them to do so?
At the very beginning, many people thought that this move is under the order, instruction of the central government. That's not true. This initiative is completely out of the consideration of Hong Kong administration, and Carrie Lam spoke on many occasions. She receives no order, no instruction from central government to launch this effort for the amendment. And she decided to suspend it, and we show understanding and respect and support. So I hope you will keep in mind the 3 words I gave you: understanding, respect, and support. I think we'll continue to do this along the road. I think you're all doing your second. It's about time, so one hand here, the last 3 questions. Okay, yeah, please.
Thank you, Ross, for the second question.
Where are you from, by the way?
RT. As you know, the trade war with the US is continuing. Donald Trump has sought to make Huawei a pressure point with China. Do you feel there's a chance that the US could do the same with Hong Kong in an attempt to get a more favorable trade deal? And how will Beijing respond if the US goes down this path?
I think the talks are still going on. I personally still cautious, optimistic about the future of China-US trade relations. You know, member political bureau and director of Central Affairs Office, Yang Jiechi, is in New York having a talk with the Secretary Pompeo, and they have a very extensive discussions about bilateral relations, trade relationship, trade consultations is one of them. On Hong Kong, you know, China will never compromise its principle with any trade deal. We wouldn't barter away our principle. It's purely China's internal affairs. Brooks no foreign intervention, no matter which country it is. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Mark Chan from Bloomberg again. I think the entire Hong Kong business community would agree with you when you said that the unrest recently has been very bad for the economy, bad for Hong Kong's position as a global financial center. And yet, many, I think, would also argue that if the Chinese central government was to intervene directly, that would be even worse. And that in order to solve this, it will require some sort of engagement with the protesters who you acknowledge are not all violent, and that many have some legitimate concerns. Do you not think that the position that you've laid out here, which is quite hard, should allow more space for engagement with the protesters in the interest of, as you say, maintaining stability and the economic well-being and the international image of Hong Kong?
Let me ask you this. If Hong Kong, you know, we are talking about a hypothetical situation. If Hong Kong's situation become uncontrollable, unrest goes on and on, will it serve the interests of business community in Hong Kong? Or the central government will intervene with a resolute solution and to put it end as quickly as possible, serve the interests of Hong Kong? I think the answer should be the latter. But that is extreme situation. That is a situation we would not like to see. As I said, we hope to see the situation will end in an orderly way. That include people should rally behind the Hong Kong government, rally behind the chief executive, support Hong Kong government to put this to end, to bring the violent law offenders to justice, and to restore the order. So that is the top priority of Hong Kong today. Yeah, please.
Thank you for a second question, Ambassador. Evan Davis, BBC PM. You've drawn a distinction between violent protesters and non-violent protesters. And I just want to be clear, can you unequivocally tell the people of Hong Kong that if the violence stops, but peaceful protest continues, there is no way that the central Chinese authorities would intervene in the internal affairs of Hong Kong? It's only the violence which is in the interests of China to quell or to stop.
I hope you should go back to my opening statement. I said, if the situation in Hong Kong deteriorates into unrest, uncontrollable, to the Hong Kong government, the central government would not sit by and watch, and we have enough solutions, enough power to quell the unrest swiftly. So what you're talking about is still the situation that is controllable. It's still under the control of the Hong Kong government. So we do not need to talk about the other part.
It may be peacefully uncontrollable.
I don't think so. I think that shows you have a lack of understanding of the situation. You have underestimated the capability of Hong Kong government and the capability of Hong Kong police. I think they are fully prepared, fully equipped to handle peaceful demonstration, but it has to be peaceful. Thank you. Last question. I'm sorry. I seldom leave the hand raised and unanswered.
Mr. Ambassador, thank you again for a second question from Ambassador to CNN. You talk about really how patience is wearing thin right now, and you're suggesting that you have resources and solutions to bring something swiftly. What sort of timeline are you looking at? In other words, this time next week, do you think that the Hong Kong government would have been able to resolve this crisis on its own without any further support from the central government, or will we still be having this conversation next week?
As I said, we have full trust in Hong Kong government. I hope they will put it end at an early date as soon as possible. Maybe we do not need another press conference. We'll see. Thank you. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you.